Welcome to this episode of our program Arab Affairs. As usual, we will be discussing a very important Arab file today. We'll be discussing one of the most important Arab files that have been taking place since decades, the core of the Arab problems, the Palestinian-Israeli cause. When we are speaking about the latest, particularly after the Israeli latest elections that took place in September, the outcome of it, and how will that reflect on the so far stalemate in the Palestinian-Israeli talks. Before we delve into our discussion, let me first welcome our distinguished guests, Ambassador Hazem Abu Shanab, Palestinian official, or rather Palestinian senior official. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Farman, so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to say thank you for the invitation.
You're most welcome.
Thank you.
Before we delve into our discussion, let's first have this, or rather the Arab news that took place during this week, and we'll come back for more discussion.
The first general session of the Arab Parliament convened at the Arab League headquarters in Cairo. The session is headed by Mishal al-Silmi, head of the Arab Parliament, as attended by Minister Sameh Shukri. Al-Silmi called on Ethiopia to reach a just and comprehensive agreement regarding the Renaissance Dam issue. In its concluding session, the Arab Parliament issued a resolution in which it showed full solidarity with Egypt and Sudan in their efforts to protect their water security. In his speech to the inaugural session, Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri said that Egypt was willing to sign a trilateral agreement with Ethiopia and Sudan through negotiations brokered by the United States and the World Bank to guarantee Egypt's rights to the Nile water. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad said that his government's ultimate goal was to restore state authority over Kurdish-controlled areas in the northeast. In a state television interview, al-Assad also said that a deal between Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Russian President Vladimir Putin was a positive step that would help Damascus achieve its goal. He added that the Kurds would not be asked to immediately hand over their weapons when the Syrian army enters their areas in a final deal with them that brings back state control to the large parts of the territory they now control. The Daesh terrorists confirmed that its leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was killed in a weekend raid by American special forces in northwestern Syria and vowed revenge against the United States. The group confirmed his death in an audio tape posted online and said that a successor, identified as Abu Ibrahim al-Qurashi, had been appointed. Meanwhile, the Daesh spokesman warned the United States in the tape to beware vengeance against their nation. Analysts believe that al-Baghdadi's death is likely to cause Daesh to splinter, leaving whoever emerges as its new leader with the task of pulling the group back together as a fighting force. Saudi Arabia took command of an anti-rebel troops in Yemen's Aden after the government and southern separatist forces struck a power-sharing deal following August clashes in the city. The Saudi-led pro-government coalition said in a statement that coalition forces had been repositioned in Aden to become under the kingdom's command and redeployed to conform with requirements of current operations. United Arab Emirates Minister of State for Foreign Affairs Anwar Gargash said that Saudi Arabia's command of the coalition forces in Aden was a positive development in the interest of stability, unity of priorities, and mobilizing efforts.
Right, welcome back, and ahead with our topic, and let me know the developments, particularly after the latest Israeli election, please.
What elections are we talking about?
The Israeli one, of course. Hopefully that one day we can hear from the Palestinian elections, right?
Yeah, inshallah, it's going to happen, inshallah. But this is not what I've been asking about. I've been asking about what elections. Are we talking about the elections in September, or elections in the previous April, or the coming elections that the Israelis are going to face in a very close time? So, the story of the elections. In last month, in September, in fact, an Israeli re-elections did happen, because that the Israeli elections in April did not succeed in giving a chance for any power, political power, to form a government. So at that time, if you remember, in April, the same day of announcing the resolutions or the conclusion of the elections, I said that the Israeli elections will not lead to forming an Israeli government. And Benjamin Netanyahu is going to continue as a prime minister that has to continue until the next elections. So what is he doing? He is only extending the period that he stays as a prime minister, so he can keep controlling the decision in the Israeli political map. And there are other goals of Benjamin Netanyahu of what's happening. So they went to another election, which is in September. In September also...
No, we'll get back, of course, to the goals you're speaking about, but please go ahead.
In September, they had a second election, which is very expensive for the Israeli budget, but they went to. And of course, no end to show that Benjamin Netanyahu's government is going to be ended. Why? Again, because the powers, as a result of the elections, did not give a chance to any weight, bloc inside the parliament to form
a government.
However,
the Israeli president insists that Benjamin Netanyahu, Mr. Netanyahu, forms the other government.
The Israeli president was, they brought him by the right wing, by Benjamin Netanyahu and his coalition. So he is very loyal to Benjamin Netanyahu and his bloc. So he insists that Benjamin Netanyahu is the prime minister, while all the others are not accepting Benjamin Netanyahu as a prime minister. Netanyahu succeeded in all means in the whole period to keep the right extreme wing, blocked together, connected together, stick together against any other political trend. So he's a bloc with his bloc and keeping themselves a way of being partners to any other bloc. So there is no solution to have an Israeli government but through three scenarios that no one is talking about. The major scenario is to have coalition between the extreme right wing of Netanyahu and the new, they call themselves a party, but it is a trend, a coalition which is called in Hebrew Kahul Lavan, which is blue and white.
Yes.
The colors of the flag of Israel. Yeah. So a coalition must be started, but no one wants this coalition to happen. Even Benjamin Netanyahu, by the way, that Benjamin Netanyahu said that no, if there is a chance to form a unity, they call it a unity government, coalition to form a government, he should be the prime minister of Israel. So the question is, why is Benjamin Netanyahu insisting of being a prime minister of Israel? Everyone would say that because he wants to be the prime minister, to be to have the control.
Actually, it's to build on the momentum, since lots of gains have been achieved during the past periods.
Maybe, but the truth is that there are two major or main reasons, in fact. Number one, because Benjamin Netanyahu likes Benjamin Netanyahu. So he doesn't want the signing pen to go away of his fingers. He's a left writer, by the way. So he wants to keep the pen of having the control. But number two, which is also very very premium for Benjamin Netanyahu, is to keep himself away of going to the court, because there are 4 main cases in front of the Israeli courts are going to take Benjamin Netanyahu down, to crack him down, and to take him to jail. He would be sent to jail. So he is playing with the time to keep himself as a prime minister, so the law gives him a chance to not to be under the court. This is the issue. So he is keeping himself away. The right wing is all with Benjamin Netanyahu, because Benjamin Netanyahu gave them so many facilities to keep themselves as the major or the core power in the political field. And he gave them the chance to change all the, again, I'm reminding everyone with what I said almost 10 years ago, during the 10 years, and I'm keeping talking. Everyone in the West world, they claim that Israel is the only democratic country in the region, which is incorrect. Go back and revise the legislations of Benjamin Netanyahu and his bloc, the extreme right wing. What did they do to the Israeli elections, legislations through the Knesset, the parliament, the Israeli parliament? Israel legislations is all now against the international law, is all against democracy, is all against human rights, is all against the international law that keeps away the criminals. Just have a look as a normal, neutral citizen, even not a specialist. Just read it, and you will find that Benjamin Netanyahu and the extreme right wings, they changed the Israeli legislations during the last 10 years, and they put Israel as the most extremist country and against the international law and so many things. I'm not going to talk too much. Just go and read it. Read 2-3 texts only.
Do I have to read the laws of Israel, since Israel does not abide by any of the international laws, resolutions, conventions, the existence of Israel in itself? Anyway, we're not going
Anyhow, I will give examples if you don't want to read it. Just go and see the resolutions during the last few years by the Israeli cabinet and the Israeli Knesset, which is the parliament, and the government. They stopped, they forbid, they don't accept that anyone which is not a Jew to go through the bus, to go in the bus for the public transportation. In some certain places, no one but a Jew. You are not. If you are an Arab, even an Israeli Arab, you are not allowed to go through that bus. If you are an Ethiopian Jew, you cannot go through that bus. If you are not them, only that group, you cannot go through to get into, to ride this bus. You cannot. This is one. Number 2, if you are not a Jew, this is the legislation.
So we're speaking here about social injustice, even between the Jews.
Between the Jews, and now another one,
or among the Jews,
which is there is a law that is very confusing. Said textually, I'm quoting, that if you are not a Jew, you are not a citizen of Israel. So what will you do with the 1,350,000 non-Jews of Arabs inside Israel, which are the native citizens of this land? And what would you do with the Christians inside Israel?
But that takes me to a very important point you raised here. The 350 or more Arab Jews who are living, or rather non-Jews, I mean the Arabs who are living inside Israel, and the emergence for the very first time that an Arab group or Arab party takes certain seats in the Knesset. And this time is the first time that they have a higher score than before. So
Yes, this is
how
correct.
would that reflect on the situation? Would that make a kind of balance towards one group or another? How would that reflect?
I would tell you the core reason that Benjamin Netanyahu and the extreme right wing, that they don't want this Arab group to be in the parliament and not to have this number of seats inside the
But
parliament.
they already are
Yes,
having.
but I'm telling you the main core reason that they don't want them. Because this group would succeed with some other Israeli groups to stop the legislations, the extremist legislations inside Israel. So this is the first thing that they are going to do. The legislation by the Israeli parliament 2 years before that was saying that if you are not a Jew, you are not an Israeli. So what would, again, these groups, not only this group, would talk about what would you do with the black Israelis. I'm sorry to say that, but they are dealing with them as they are colored persons, as they are black, the Ethiopians. So we saw that intifada or that demonstrations.
Yes, Ethiopian.
We saw in Israel, in Tel Aviv, and several cities inside the country, that they all rose up against the Israeli state. That you are not dealing with these citizens, the Israeli citizens, as they are Israeli citizens. These are the Ethiopians. Natively, they are Ethiopians. And they came to Israel as they are Jews. But Israel is not accepting them. So there is a legislation against them. There are legislations against them. What would they do with the 1,350,000 Arab Israeli citizens? What would they do? Which is 23% of the population of Israel. Only the Arabs, and the Ethiopians, and the Russians that they brought decades.
The Ashkenaz?
So many. So we are talking about more than 1 million and a quarter of Russians, 1 million and a third of Arabs. We are talking about 500,000 or more of the black Ethiopians. So we are talking about almost half of the Israeli citizens.
And yet we
and
are
the Israeli legislation is only legislated for the right wings.
Yes, Ambassador Abishana, so far what I'm speaking about, how would that Arab bloc that for the first time in the history of the Knesset, the Israeli Knesset, takes a big or a larger margin than usual.
Yes.
And how will that reflect on the coming elections or the formation of the Israeli government?
The Arab bloc, which is a coalition, by the way, it's not a party. It's a coalition of several parties. It would lead to make a break for the Israeli right wing or the extreme wing legislations in the parliament. And it might, if they had some kind of support of other Israeli groups, I'm talking about the blocs inside the parliament, they can also reopen the laws that the previous Knesset did vote against Israel by itself. This is what I'm saying. That the Israeli legislations are against Israel by itself because it's against the international law. So I see it like this. It's against democracy. And I'm one of the fighters for the democracy. So I'm not accepting any country, including Israel, to be non-democratic. So Israel is doing that. And they went to the corner that they are non-democratic anymore because of the legislations that they issued during the last 10 years. This is what they are doing. So the new big number of the Arab members inside the Israeli parliament would lead to such a situation as I'm saying. In addition to the left wing, to the middle, the bloc in the middle.
I'll just take a break for the adhan and we'll come back.
Okay.
Israel has approved the construction of 2,342 settler homes in the occupied West Bank. Settlement watchdog Peace Now said the Israeli decision was taken on October 10th and that 59% of the new homes will be erected in settlements that Israel likely may evacuate under a peace agreement with the Palestinians. According to Peace Now, which closely monitors Israeli settlement buildings, plan for 8,337 housing units in the settlements have been approved since the beginning of the year. It said this represented an increase of close to 50% compared with 2018, when plans for 5,618 housing units were approved. All settlements are considered illegal under international law and are built on land that Palestinians see as part of their future state, but Israel distinguishes between those it has approved and those it has not. Peace Now said that settlement construction has increased under Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who's fighting for his political survival after failing to form a coalition government following September elections. Included in the 2,342 new housing units are 182 that are due to be built in Mivut Yurichu. Ramping up the construction of settlement homes is yet another dangerous setup for both Israel and the Palestinians, led by a transitional prime minister whom the public didn't trust in his policies. Israeli president has tasked ex-military chief Benny Gantz to form a government after Netanyahu failed to set up a coalition for the second time this year. Some 600,000 Israeli settlers live in the West Bank and Israeli annexed East Jerusalem, among around 2.9 million Palestinians.
Right, welcome back, and quickly, Ambassador Abu Shana, because I'm really running out of time and I need to ask you several questions.
Short answers.
Now, we have just heard this report, the annexation of new territories, Arab-occupied territories, Palestinian occupied territories. This is among issues that are, or rather illegal steps that have been taken by Israel during this just past period. How do you view that, and where would that lead to?
I would see a few sentences, but I have to go back. We said before that this land is called Palestine, and the international law in 1947 established a resolution, said dividation of Palestine into two states. So the audience must remember this. So this is basically Palestine.
Actually,
and the international
for Israel to be accepted as a state, according to the United Nations Charter, there should be two states.
Yes.
The Palestinian with the Israeli.
Where on the land of Palestine.
Yes.
So this is the text of the resolution,
yes.
181, 1947. Yes. So this is it. Number two, I'll jump directly to the end of your question. In March, last March, I said, be aware, international world, that there is a person is called Smotrich. He would be pushed to be elected as a Knesset member, and he is something very abnormal of extremism. Now, during the period between the elections in April and the elections of September, he was appointed by Benjamin Netanyahu as a minister of transportation. What did he do, this little Smotrich? He's a very young man, by the way. He pushed the Israeli government and they agreed on his project, which is, what is it? It's very social and very, very kind one, that he would expand the streets and the roads, the avenues in the West Bank, to give a chance for improving the net of transportation, the public transportation. Which one? The Palestinian or the Israeli? The Israeli.
Definitely.
And the streets, if he expanded, so what does it mean? And he developed, it does mean, what does it mean? It means that these are Israeli streets.
Network, so, infrastructure.
Everything, the infrastructure, the nets and the buses are going to be used are Israelis. So it would be under whose authority?
The Israeli.
the Ministry of Transportation of Israel.
And
so
results?
who's going to protect and secure these streets and the whole net and the buses and the passengers? The Israeli soldiers. So what's happened? What did happen in the West Bank? It's all annexed by this.
That was an announcement made by the Prime Minister or Benjamin Netanyahu that plans of the annexation of the West Bank, right?
He said that in March and he said that again in September. Benjamin Netanyahu said it frankly, and he said that in the night while he was in the United States. He's repeating that, and he's saying that, and he is very obvious to everyone. What did anyone do against him? No one but the Palestinians. No one but the Palestinians. Israel is annexing the rest of the Palestinian land, which is accepted by the international community and the international law, the UN, the Security Council, that it is the land of the new Palestine. Israel is not accepting, and they are annexing this part and put it under the sovereignty of the Israeli state,
now we're
the
speaking
Israeli
about
government.
Jerusalem, right? The whole Jerusalem.
Not only Jerusalem and most of the West Bank.
Yes.
The rest of the lands of West Bank will be only isolated blocks, like isolated islands in the ocean. There will be no connection between this Palestinian city and that Palestinian city, because all of that would be Israel. No annexation, no connection. If you want to move, you are a Palestinian citizen, and if you want to go to visit your sister in this village, you cannot go, because the Israeli street, the Israeli transportation, the Israeli annexation is avoiding you. You cannot go to visit your sister. It's not your country anymore. What is the space? It is more than 65% of the area of the West Bank. So what's left? Only 35. Of the 22%. Yani we are talking about 35% of the 22% of the land of Palestine that we are claiming that we want, which is the land which was occupied in 1967. So we are talking about what? We are talking about 3%, maybe 5% of the whole Palestine. Is that fair? Can you accept that? Anyone would accept that? Where is Palestine in all of that? There is no Palestine in that. So he's annexing West Bank. He annexed Jerusalem as a whole, and he annexed also Golan Heights in Syria. And he is talking about other places, and he's sending so many groups in different Arab countries saying that they are Jews
Just
there,
a minute.
in the Gulf and in the other countries.
And we're speaking about the Jordanian Valley, the next step.
I would not start talking about that now.
Okay.
But other places in different countries, basically around Palestine, which is Israel now.
Right. I have 2
And
minutes.
in the Gulf, again I'm saying, in the Gulf and in the northern of Africa. Very strange, huh? But this is the truth. Inshallah, you will have long life, and you, I hope you don't see that, but it's happening. If there is no one is stopping this maniac, it's happening.
I have 2 minutes left for me here, and I want to know concrete steps taken by the Palestinians according to international laws.
Refusal of what the Israelis are doing, which is resistance, we are not accepting. Sorry to say that, you are a beautiful young lady, but they are raping us. We will never accept that. We will never accept that. We want our land back. We want our right. We want our country. We want our land. I want my grandfather's land that he stayed there and he planted olives there. I want them. I still have the taste of that olive oil in my mouth that my mother sucked me by her breast. This is our land, and this is our trees, and this is our weather, and this is our oxygen, and this is our bird. It's all ours. We want them back easily. So we will never accept what they are doing and what they will do. The international community, does they accept that the struggle continue? It's their decision. But for us, we are not struggling anyone. We are defending ourselves, and we are only keeping our rights and our future not to be burnt.
Definitely, you have all the rights. Palestinian people, you have all the right for having your lands back, and definitely it's a big burden on the international community to act against the injustice Israeli has been committing. Unfortunately, my time is out. I have to end it here. Ambassador Hazem Abu Shanab, senior Palestinian official, we thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'm sorry that hard words, but this is the truth, and the audience, they have the right to know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dear viewers, many thanks for watching. Next Saturday will be another important Arab file. Until then, goodbye.